I think Casemiro, deadly serious, should know himself tonight, as an experienced player, that he should only have another 3 games left at the top level, the next 2 league games and a cup final, and then he should be thinking, I need to go to the MLS or Saudi. I'm deadly serious. His agents or the people around him, they always have a team of people around them. They need to tell him, this has to stop, because we are watching one of the greats of the modern time, playing in one of the best midfields we've seen who dominated Europe, him holding a Cruz to one side, Modric to the other, was one of the best midfields, could easily go up against the Barcelona midfield that we all loved, Busquets, Xavi, Iniesta, so he's been an absolute great. I am nowhere near on a level of what that man has achieved, Champions League, playing for Brazil, playing for Real Madrid, but I always remember something when I retired myself, and there was a saying I always remember, as a footballer, leave the football before the football leaves you. The football's left him. At this top level, he needs to call it a day, at this level of football, and move. Might be easier said than done though, because he still has 2 years left on a really hefty contract at Old Trafford. No, Dave, I'm saying. So pay him off. He'd have earned the right few quid, good luck to him. He's not going to go anywhere without being paid off. They pay him off, they do some sort of deal, but the level of that player, he should not be putting himself through this. He is too good of a player to be putting in a performance like that and being laughed at by Crystal Palace. He's not playing Man City, he's not playing Real Madrid, all due respect to Crystal Palace. A man of that level should not be going through what he's going through when he needs to call it a day. We know behind the scenes, Ashley, that there is a lot going on at Manchester United. There is a huge turnover of personnel. Some of those changes have been made, some are going to come into effect in the summer, and maybe even beyond that in terms of Dan Ashworth coming from Newcastle United, Jason Wilcox already there. When they are looking at this period for Manchester United, I'm wondering what it is that takes them forward. How do you think they're going to be reflecting on this period in Manchester United's season under Erik ten Hag? I feel like we're looking and thinking the disappointment in it. You're not seeing too many green on the screen with wins, you're seeing plenty of draws and 2 losses there. And a lot of goals conceded as well. So many goals conceded, and that's where you need to start, is stop conceding goals. I think they're going to come in and be pretty much rubbing their hands together to know that they can't do a worse job than what's been going on. I think they're going to have so much know-how and see the squad and see what they've been looking at in the last few months to see what they need to come in and change. It's been for years now that things need to change from the top. Hopefully now that the new owners are coming in, things are going to start changing. But like I said, when you're a player in that dressing room, you've got to look at yourself and not have everything be put on the manager because you're the ones that go out there and play. I've been talking about the missing out on Europe for the 2nd time since Sir Alex Ferguson left the club. As if it's a terrible thing if they finish 8th and they miss out. Regardless of who the coach is, could it actually be a blessing, Jamie? I think it would be better for them if they miss out because they won't have as many games. They can cut the squad. They need to get people off the wager. Casemiro and Varane have got to go, and then you go with a smaller squad and you almost try and build something. It gives you more coaching time. Whoever the coach is, you don't get bogged down with that Thursday, Sunday, and then you say, okay, this season we're going for Europa League or try and push for the Champions League. People might laugh at that, but Manchester United have got to be pushing for the Champions League every year. They'll spend again in the summer. Maybe it's not as much as they normally do because of a PSR. But I said before about Manchester United fans, you need to believe something, so it's not just about results, it's the performance. Another big thing for managers in this day and age with the digital world that we're living in is their interviews. Now, before the game, the managers spoke about things improving in 2024. They're not. So you look at that run of results, they're terrific. Do you see any scenario then when he stays? I do see a scenario where he stays because I actually think there's that much change behind the scenes now with Dan Ashworth, Jason Wilcox almost trying to fix the structure. What new managers are going to want to come in to coach that team, and also if they can't actually change too much in terms of money-wise in the summer. But listen, Manchester United could get almost any manager they want because they're one of the biggest and best football clubs in the world. But I said before they're one of the worst coach teams in the league who I watch, and I watch a lot of these teams, I watch a lot of Football Analyzer for this show, and they are as bad as anything. And if he is to stay, I think it would be because they don't actually want to bring a new manager in with the situation that the club is right now, because if he was to lose his job, I don't think he could have any complaints. Offered an really important contract to the players. Hey guys, welcome back on the channel. 1 Hour Sports here as always to keep you posted on the transfer market. Today guys, we touch on an important update for Chelsea, something to say on Thomas Tuchel and also on Erik ten Hag. Let's jump into it together. And so guys, let me start today's video by mentioning the news that if you are on these platforms in the recent months here on YouTube, you know that Chelsea are working on one of the best wonder kids since a long time. It's already since November, October when Chelsea started the concrete contacts for Estevaõ Willian, this Brazilian winger who was born in 2007 and is considered one of the best talents in the world, not just in South America. Left-footed, special talent, considered a really big one. Imagine that the manager of Palmeiras, Abel, said in press conference he never saw any other player like him at that age. Incredible talent. This is how they all rate this boy. And what we can say now is that Chelsea have reached an agreement with Willian Estevaõ and his agents on the contract. So salary, project, everything is ready between Chelsea and Willian Estevaõ. Now Chelsea have and want to close the deal with Palmeiras. Conversations are ongoing between Chelsea and Palmeiras, waiting to send an official bid. My understanding is that Chelsea's initial proposal will be 32 million euros plus add-ons. What I'm hearing, I'm giving you this exclusive detail, is that the add-on structure could be over the value of the release clause. The release clause of Willian Estevaõ in the new contract he did with Palmeiras is 55 million euros. Chelsea prefer to pay some millions more, but with different payment terms and also with the advantage of closing the deal as soon as possible. So it could be 32 now and 25 in multiple yields, but in add-ons. So, not guaranteed money, but also based on the performances of the player, and they can pay that in multiple years. So, it could be a good deal in that case for Chelsea. It depends on Palmeiras now, so the conversation between the two clubs is ongoing, is advancing. But for sure, Chelsea are working hard to bring in one of the best talents in the world, Willian Estevaõ. If you remember, guys, December 2022, when Real Madrid closed the deal for Endrick. For Estevaõ, there was a bid from Paris Saint-Germain. PSG, at that point, offered an really important contract to the players, Endrick and Estevaõ. And also, Paris Saint-Germain made a bid for 90 million euros, more than 90 million euros, for Endrick and Estevaõ. And Palmeiras said no. They sold Palmeiras Endrick to Real Madrid, and now Willian Estevaõ is close to joining Chelsea. The conversation is really advanced, done with the player advancing between the two clubs, and so keep an eye on Willian Estevaõ and Chelsea work in progress. Then, something to clarify about managers, guys. I wanted to start with Erik ten Hag, to confirm to you what I told you in the recent days. We had many rumors from England, from Germany, about Erik ten Hag and Bayern, but it was never something concrete. Bayern are inquiring on many managers on the market because they want to understand the situation, the domino. And it's obvious when you're looking for a new coach. But Bayern never started a concrete conversation with Erik ten Hag. Also, ten Hag is not starting any conversation with other clubs. Full focus on Manchester United. Ten Hag will not decide anything before the end of the season and the FA Cup final. The FA Cup final is absolutely crucial. Bayern want to have a new manager as soon as possible. They don't want to wait until the end of May, if possible. And so let's see what's going to happen there. But for sure, between Erik ten Hag and Bayern, it's not something concrete and it's not a negotiation. So to put the name of Erik ten Hag doesn't mean that he's going to be a new Bayern manager at all. So nothing really concrete into it. For Thomas Tuchel, many questions, obviously. Full focus on the big game against Real Madrid, on the final games at Bayern. No change of minds on that point.
Welcome back to 1 Hour Sports TV. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, share, and comment your thoughts. We will be analyzing the fire in the red half of Manchester with Nolan. Now, would it be unfair to say that at the moment this United team look anything but a band of brothers?
No, they don't. Let's just allude to it. The performance the other night against Crystal Palace is nowhere near. It's not a Man United performance, and you look at these Man United squad and you compare it to the likes of, and I don't keep harping back on, but when you look at it, the likes of the Royal Kings, the Scholes and the Beckhams, it's a totally different team. It doesn't look like there's a togetherness, it looks like they play as individuals, and that's why they're not getting results at the moment. And the big thing is, and as guys say as a manager, you've got to work hard, you run through brick walls, you're playing for Man United Football Club. It's still one of the biggest teams in world football, if not the biggest team in world football, and you can't just expect you're going to turn out to Crystal Palace and get the 3 points, because it don't happen like that now in the Premier League, and that's what it looked like. And listen, they can tell me they've got injuries, every football club's got injuries. Your squad should be big enough to be able to go to Crystal Palace and get a result. Palace. It was a fantastic result. But at the moment, they're not producing. Let me tell you, if they play like that against Man City in the FA Cup final, it could be 7 or 8, because Palace could have easily beat them 6 or 7. They missed numerous opportunities on the night, but it was a great performance from Palace, but poor from Man United. What do you sense, Gary, that they'll do about Erik ten Hag? Because yes, he's had the backdrop of injuries, but then a lot of clubs this season, you look at the likes of Luton, Newcastle to name but a few, have had lots of injuries this season. There's been the rumbling on of the ownership issue for a lot of this season and beyond, but surely as a club they cannot continue to go through this cycle of replacing a manager every couple of years or so. Have they got to stick with him for you? Well, I think it's unlikely that they do. If you're a new owner coming in and you've seen the level of performances that we spoke about, Ineos mentioned it earlier, they don't look like they're playing for the manager. I think Erik ten Hag said something after the game that I thought was really striking. He said we had a clear defensive structure. They've lost 4-0, so therefore he's kind of blaming the players a little bit. But the fact of the matter is, when there's that lack of synergy in terms of what you're saying and the performance, well, the other week he called them the most entertaining side in the Premier League, didn't he? Yeah, I've been in that position where you're under pressure, and sometimes in interviews you're just trying to clutch on to things that perhaps take the focus away. But I think if you're those owners coming in, I think it's clear you have to probably make a change just to see it. But there's a lot of work to do behind the scenes. Well, you look at some of their recruitment. I mean, we talk about being out running games, but at times they're putting teams out that just cannot physically live with the top 4 teams, let alone technically. I said a couple of weeks ago, I think they need Ancelotti. I know Ancelotti's got another year left at Real Madrid, but they could go on and win the Champions League. I know he's not a step forward, but you bring him in for a year, you've got Jim Ratcliffe upstairs, you get him in, you get him there for a year, and he comes and he goes, you know what, at the end of the season, keep him, get rid of him. He's a bad egg, get rid of him. This bloke has worked with the best in the world, You watch this Real Madrid team, they've got superstars and they run around. That's because of the manager. So you need someone to come in and just to sort it out, because at the moment it's just going to keep on going along. Man United are a million miles off and they will be again next year and the year after. They're not 1 or 2 signings away. They're a long way away. And I know you hear the back scenes at Man United, and they're going to stop this and they're going to stop that, and you've got to come into work. That ain't where it's all wrong. It's all wrong on the pitch. They're the ones who are getting the 300 grand a week, not the people working from home getting whatever they're getting a week. It's the ones on the pitch. Sort that out. Don't start nipping around with nitpicking with other things like you hear. Sort this out, sort it out, and they need to sort it out. And I think you need an Ancelotti who comes in, who's worked with superstars and needs to remind these players they're not superstars.